Hi, Nick Holmes here. In this class, we are going to look at Henry Mancini's iconic Pink Panther tune from the 1963 film of the eponymous name. The presentation covers many fascinating musical gems that are to be found inside the Pink Panther theme, such as the slinky bass line, the chromatic embellishments, the use of the flat 5 melody note, the pungent bluesy flat 6 chord, and the strikingly colourful flat 2/7 chord. Along the way, to get the idea of how these chords are used, we will also look at several jazz classic songs that feature these quintessential jazz blues harmonies. This YouTube cut is a streamlined version of the full masterclass, trimmed to keep things moving fast. For the serious music theory lovers who don't want to miss a single note or example, the full uncut masterclass is linked in the description. Introduction. The Pink Panther was written by composer, conductor, arranger and pianist Henry Mancini, whose genius was to be able to make simple musical things sound profound and memorable, rather like French composer Erik Satie, who lamentably only after his passing became famous for his poignantly simple piano works, such as Nocion and Encyclopedia. Mancini enjoyed great success writing such classics as the timeless Moon River, which was originally performed by Audrey Hepburn in the 1961 film Breakfast at Tiffany's. As well, Mancini's song The Days of Wine and Roses has long been a go-to jazz standard that is a feast for improvisers. Mancini also composed some frivolous, iconic tunes like the Baby Elephant Walk. The 1963 version of the Pink Panther that we will feast ourselves on is in concert E minor. However, it contains various shades of E minor, such as the Hungarian minor and the minor blues scale. Both of which feature the unusual and exotic flattened fifth. This sophistication no doubt adds to the enigma of the tune, the fact that it cannot easily be labelled as coming from just one minor scale. The bass line features a striking and a memorable 3-note chromatic run that targets and approaches the root notes of the 3 chords of the tune. This line is doubled by the vibraphone, a 5th above. So much for music school theory books that forbid parallel 5th movement. Main melody analysis. Here is the 16-bar Pink Panther 1962 melody that was originally played on the tenor sax by Plas Johnson. I have recreated a version of it on the soprano sax so as not to arouse the wrath of the musical overlords. I mean record companies with their copyright strikes. We can see that inside these 16 bars, there are 3 similar 4-bar phrases, followed by a last bluesy line which is quite starkly different in character. Here now is the first iconic phrase of the Pink Panther melody. The first 2 bars feature an E minor triad being embellished from above and below. The tonic E is preceded chromatically from below via the D sharp. The minor third G is preceded as well chromatically from below via the F sharp. And the fifth of the minor triad, B, is preceded chromatically from above via the C natural. The target chord tones are on the downbeats 1 and 3, and the embellishments or approach notes are an eighth note before these target chord tones. Notably, on the original recording, these target chord tones are played short. This detail adds to the cheeky, somewhat playful feeling this initial phrase imbues. In the second part of the masterclass, in the section Chromatic Embellishment Exercises on Minor, I will offer workouts designed to help you internalize these adornments, such as this one. By the way, if you are enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe and like, as this will encourage me to keep making content and will help keep the Jazzduets channel alive and healthy. Now let's look at bar 3 of this first iconic phrase of the melody. The surprising melody note is the non-diatonic B flat. This is the flattened fifth in E minor. This is a very important note to learn how to use in any minor key, as it is so bluesy, expressive and pungent. The harmony changes here to C7. This is the non-diatonic, tremendously important flat 6-7 chord, here relating to E minor. This sustained B flat becomes the minor 7th of this C7 and sounds wicked. It is notable that on the original recording this note is played with a slight bend up, which adds further to the feeling of blues. Apart from this somewhat rude flattened fifth, this bar as well features new note choices, rhythms and articulations. All of these notes can be thought of as coming from the E minor blues scale. It is extremely important to appreciate that the last note of the phrase E is preceded by the D natural, a tone away, the minor 7th note of E minor. The movement of a tone from D to E is way more muscular and bluesy than the semitone from D sharp to E. Would you agree? The fall off. One last thing, let's listen to the original recording here, how sax player Plaz Johnson ends this note, affecting it with a fall off, which imbues the end of this phrase with so much expression and character. Phrase 2. The second phrase is almost identical to the first one apart from the ending, where the melody ends higher on the major 7th leading note of the E minor scale, D sharp. Normally this might be harmonized by the 5-7 B7 dominant chord and would sound predictable like this. Mancini instead chose to use the non-diatonic flat 2-7 F7 to harmonize this note, which imbues the proceedings with a different feeling, a more unusual, surprising and enigmatic sound. This D sharp melody note can be thought of enharmonically as an E flat, the minor 7th of this F7. We will look at this amazing flat 2-7 chord a little later in the class, where it comes from, why it works, and look at various other iconic tunes, such as A Night in Tunisia, that feature this 5-7 tritone substitute chord. The third phrase of the tune is a verbatim copy of the first one, which pleases, comforts, and solidifies the melody in the ear of the listener. Phrase 4. Now let's turn our attention to the fourth and final phrase of this 16-bar tune. This is bluesy and bold and is a sound texture we have not heard before. This phrase is not supported by harmony as the band stops here, leaving the melody to shine. In jazz, this is called a break and usually happens at the beginning of a solo. Even though there is no harmonic accompaniment to this phrase, the chord clearly seems to be an E minor during these last two bars. The descending melody in the first bar is built on the E minor pentatonic scale. Perhaps the most notable feature is the way the fourth is embellished by the flattened fifth in the second bar. As well, it is notable that this blue grace note embellishment occurs 4 times. This repetition pleases the sensibilities. Okay, that concludes this first analysis part of the Pink Panther. Be sure to check out part 2, Corollary Exercises, featuring meticulously prepared workouts designed to get you practicing and assimilating the musical gems contained in this fantastic tune. And lastly, please remember to subscribe and like if you enjoyed this presentation, as this will encourage me to keep making content and will help keep the Jazzduets channel alive and healthy.